you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets, unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest caliber.
Welcome back to the Survival Dispatch podcast, where clarity cuts through the chaos. We don't pull punches and we don't bow to censorship. We never sugarcoat threats to our families and what we face on a daily basis in this broken world. If you believe in God, country, and the unshakable duty to protect both you and yours, then you're in the right place. And tonight we have a really, really special episode for you guys. I don't know about you guys. Well, I know I've probably done the most mileage traveling over the last 3 days, and lots of little potholes when it comes to airlines and stuff that maybe I'll share with you guys later on. But I've been several thousand miles, both in plane and automobile, the last couple of days just to go to a really special place called WOFT, and that is where our families train, is what WOFT stands for. It is an amazing, second to none, world-class training facility that really is fully immersive in what you get to do and what you get to learn and what is taught, and it's really incredible. And for those of you that may be joining us for the first time, I'm John Wheaton, your host tonight. I am joined by the CEO of Survival Dispatch, Chris Heaven, and Philip Tapino, the owner and founder of WOFT, the aforementioned WOFT. And this training ground is amazing. It puts you through a meat grinder mentally, and hopefully when you exit the other side, you're smarter, you're more aware and observant, and you understand that real world threats are waiting for all of us at any given time. And we don't actually have the ability to choose that time. We just have to be prepared when those times come. And hopefully they don't. We're training for the day we hope never happens. But it's important for us to take those things into consideration. Philip, how are you tonight?
Good evening. Greetings and salutations. Thanks for having me.
Yep. I tell you what, I was thoroughly impressed with the way you and your team. And I know we didn't get the whole experience in what we did yesterday, but it was enough. I know some of our younger guys that were there got a little bit of a eye-opening experience, and we'll never stop talking about that. We heard about it multiple times. Our new camera guy got kind of kicked into the deep end in a good way. So it was pretty awesome.
Moments, we call those moments. We call those moments, right? Where it's just lightning comes down, it strikes you, and it might change the way you think. And it could be scenario training done properly, can be life-changing.
Yeah.
Luke made the mistake of sending the video Dave took, not the full production video, but just one Dave took his phone to his girlfriend. And he said, she just texted me back. She says, it's good to know that you can't defend me. So, and I'm sure Todd can share that with the audience.
Yeah, and the one guy with that you didn't get to meet at the Righteous Savages world was Ty. Chris has met Ty. You guys have all seen Ty on some of our videos, and him and Luke have this. They play airsoft together, and they go back and forth. You know, hey, I can kick your butt. I can kick your butt. Well, Ty was definitely giving him some crap last night when he actually got to see the video. So, all in good fun, and he definitely learned some things. And one of the big things we learned is that Illinois gun laws, if you don't have a concealed carry, really, really suck. So, you cannot expect to have a gun in your center console and be able to get to it when it matters most. So, I'll leave it at that. Anyways, let's do a quick rundown. I want to give you a chance to quickly speak about what the idea behind WOFT is, why it's so important, and I'm going to throw up your website here. There's the beautiful face of Philip Tapino, but we get to see here the website and the fully immersive training. I'm going to give the floor to you, Philip, so you can speak to this, and then we'll get really into the meat and potatoes of tonight and what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, WOFT. I wanted safety from my family when I wasn't with them. I invested a lot of time and energy and money into making myself my own first responder because I wanted to be there for my family. But then if I'm not with them, where can I take them so that they can also learn and we can all learn together collectively how to be the best team? And so I traveled the country for many years and I couldn't find what I wanted. So we made our own. And WOFT started off as West Orlando Firearms Training. And you see our old logo and wearing their shirt on here because we're going to be phasing these out because I see this and I think of MASH, right? It's very tactical. And I want to move away from that because we really are where our families train, where you can take someone who's highly trained, highly skilled, give them some value, but also more importantly, their loved ones where they can join them and that way they can be more of a team together. So WOFT stands for where our families train, and we are focusing and working every day towards improving and being a world-class center for what we call real-life scenario safety and instruction.
Awesome. That's a very good rundown of the history. And you've been doing this for a little over a decade, correct?
Yeah, we've been doing large group scenarios, and that's where I kind of started. That's where the time clock started 14 years ago, where we were doing scenarios probably up to 20 years ago, but 14 years ago, I decided to say, let's bring in some specialists. And for me, you can, if you do any type of training or you've had any kind of scenario training, you can track 4 people, you can track 6 people, you can't track 20. So large group scenarios is where I started saying, I can't find this anywhere at the level I want to do it. So we started large group scenarios December 14 years ago. So this coming December will be our 14th year. And we have up to 40 people now we've worked up to. We can't go any higher than that because we average 20 VIP guests and then 20 role players. And we, over a day, over an 8-hour period, can shoehorn 6 large group scenarios where every single person is given a 3x5 card on what they're doing. And no one knows what anyone else is doing. So it's something that you start off with, and this is full force on force gear. And, we utilize 2 acres and multiple buildings with multiple waypoints with 13 vehicles. And it's the flagship of what we do. So what you guys experienced yesterday was one station. And so we have 9 different stations on property. We apply concepts in each one of those stations. And then you learn a concept in one station and then you can apply it in another. And then the large group scenarios is where we just put everything together and say, okay, what do you got? What do you got in the tank?
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And this, as you can see, this is kind of an aerial view of all of the training facilities. They have multiple buildings with multiple setups. I love your modular outdoor 360-degree gun range. It's super cool. And then the kind of semi-indoors and then the indoors air-conditioned place, for all of us weaklings from up north, we got to shoot in the air conditioning all day, but still shooting outside. So
roughing it. Glamping. I think they call it glamping, Chris.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Real quick, I want to give everybody a reminder. If you're first here, Survival Dispatch News is really only made possible by people like you. And one of the ways you guys can support us is to become a Guardian member for Survival Dispatch. That is a subscription service that you guys subscribe on a monthly basis or a yearly basis. It is $7.99 a month, or you can pay $74.99, which saves you about 2.5 months of the fee, and it gives you that for free. And it basically only 21 cents a day. That's a huge benefit for all of the information that we bring you. We bring you a lot of information that we don't make available to the public, but if you're a Guardian, we try and give as much free stuff as we can. But in today's economy, we are running a business, and we would love just to have you guys support us in this endeavor to bring you guys uncensored and unapologetic truth in a day when censorship is really a paramount thing of what the powers that be want for us. But the benefits also include the SD emergency notification. This is a new thing where we're going to have a text, email set up to where you guys are going to get high-level emergency reminders or alerts for what is going on in the world. We also give you daily sit reps, which is a 6-day-a-week thing. Saturday's the only day you don't get one of those. Early access to content, 37 survival e-mags. These are very, very nicely done, amazing artwork. A lot of money went into these, and it'll cover just about any kind of SHTF situation that you may run into. You get the threat matrix on Sunday, and we just started this as well. These briefs are insanely well done. Give all the credit to Chris for putting those together really well. You also get our private signal chat, which is just blowing up. I can't keep up with it. I have tried, and it's just like I would have to stay on it all day. But it's full of people like you that want to disseminate information and get information from each other so that we can protect our families, protect America, and protect our Christian values, because that is what's under assault in this day and age. And at the very least, you can sign up for free via our Substack or Patreon. And that is absolutely free. You don't get all of the content, but you will get a certain portion for free that you guys can peruse. And it also shows us that you guys are interested in what we're doing. I understand the economy is tough, so if you can't afford it, at least sign up for free and help us fight big tech with everything that we can and keep them from suppressing us and the truth that we're trying to bring you. That's it. Moving on. So we did spend, as I said earlier, a day yesterday with Philip and his team. Kat and her son were there and did an awesome job as well. And it was really incredible. And our young friend Luke definitely struggled, while our savvy, calloused veteran who might have bent the rules a little bit, knowing that he was in some sort of scenario training, Mike Sterling, you guys know, the Mad Bomber, and he really was had his shell up, had his turtle shell up, and barely sticking his head out of it. So we've got that footage recorded, and it's going to be coming your way soon, because it's really amazing to see some of these scenarios. And this is what we're going to actually show you guys is just a tiny glimpse, as Philip said earlier. Like, they can do much larger scale, and just the small events is enough to really overload your mindset and really poke holes in your weak points. So, but getting into kind of what we want to talk about on this episode. So, Philip, I've got some questions, and we'll just start kind of conversing over this as we go. So, first, what's the single most critical skill families need to master in WOFT scenario-based training, or just in general, to stay safe in a crisis? And how would you instill that? How do you instill that under pressure?
Okay, great. And Mike was a fantastic guest. And, we talk about in scenario training all the time, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Right. So props to him. Right. And I always like to start off by saying, by asking people, ask me, it's like, can I experience this sort of thing online? Is there a video I can watch? Right. We talked about that, Chris. And is there an interactive tutorial? And the answer to all of that is no. There is no substitute for a live, in-person, custom learning experience. And so that's the first and foremost thing to take away from everybody, is that you can watch a lot of stuff online, but until you get put in a situation where you're really tested, adrenaline affects the body very differently. So it's hugely valuable to understand the enormous difference between military or tactical style training experiences versus what we like to focus on at WOFT, which is an immersive real life scenario experience. So, for example, when you're doing tactical self-defense style exercises, the starting point is inevitably you're already in a fight, right? You're already getting accosted, you're already having to go something. And so, and that's what the training is about. So the difference with us is that we're focused on real life of everyday people. So everyday stuff, everyday scenarios, things that are much more likely to happen in your life. And real life is much more complex. There's a large number of variables and a huge number of potential catastrophic results, right? The before, during, and after. Like a lot of the partners that are on this show that Chris loves wearing that shirt, which he fills it out and makes it look fantastic. You know, and it's not necessarily to just life and limb, but legal consequences, right? As well as a long-term harm to yourself or loved ones and others. So when you go to really do purpose-based learning, if you're not including that in your training, you're missing the boat. It's not about entertainment. It's about learning how to avoid situations. And then if you can't avoid it at all cost, the legality of the before, during, and after, right? To be beyond reproach. So, you know, what we're doing, as you've experienced the Mr. Destiny glimpse, is that no one else is doing this to our level, and nothing else is like it. So in lies our challenge.
Absolutely. And that's a huge thing, is that you don't get this. Well, and I would advise anybody that is into firearms, wanting to get into firearms training, wanting to get into hand-to-hand combat, hands-on Brazilian jiu-jitsu, any kind of fighting discipline like that, knife work. If you're wanting to get into that, you cannot learn this stuff online. You just cannot. It's impossible, because you don't understand how a fight develops, how you work your way through scenarios. A lot of the hands-on type fighting or training is scenario based, and you're trying to work your way through mentally while straining yourself physically through these different scenarios. And every fight's going to develop differently. You can't learn that on a screen. You can conceptualize some things. You might be able to learn some tips, but it's just like firearms training. If you're not actually putting a gun in your hands, and on top of doing some dry firing, actually getting out and putting rounds down range, and on top of that, also stress inoculation, it's kind of worthless in the real world if you're ever faced with those kind of situations. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. And so moving on, how does WOFT balance teaching lethal force with de-escalation tactics, especially for Christians who wrestle with the moral weight of protecting life versus taking it? That's a difficult balance to strike. Sure. So yeah, how do you guys approach that?
Well, ultimately, we empower you to deal with the potentially harmful everyday situations that can happen. And let's talk about quickly, what is scenario safety? So let's begin with, what is a scenario? Okay. So think of it like this. Every day, every one of us enter and exit scenarios. We go to coffee shops, we go to gas stations, we walk our dog, we go to restaurants. These are all scenarios. And it's a simple part of our everyday lives. And most of us enter and exit these scenarios quite oblivious to our surroundings. And with the advent of cell phones, many are completely distracted. Now, generally, it's not a problem. And most of the time, it's all quite civilized. So with scenario training, like we did with Luke, we focus on the moments when it's not. What happens when a stranger approaches you? What happens when someone starts to follow you? What happens when someone becomes aggressive? And so when you're talking about the de-escalation tactics, and that faith-based families wrestle with the moral of protecting themselves, it really comes down to family. It comes down to protecting yourself and your children. And predators only understand strength. So when we talk about a scenario, that's something that when someone becomes aggressive, that scenario has now become a situation. And the question we have for them is, what would you do? And more importantly, what should you do? So at WOFT, we teach everyone how to deal with these very real encounters so that everyone can be empowered to manage these very difficult situations by seeing how they're naturally going to react first under stress in a real controlled, safe situation, and then work with them on what they're doing naturally and then make adjustments to that. So the great part about it is they don't have to worry about what they're going to do. We want to give them some experience and some education so they can make educated decisions and find out what they're going to do, and more importantly, how they work together. So it's just a really cool family experience. And our classes start with education and awareness, and we teach them both what to do and then more importantly, how to do it. And then the real magic happens. We've all seen the behind the scenes videos on how movies are made. So what you guys experienced last night is, think of us as a movie studio backlot, right? Where you're probably going to play some of that video later where you're the featured player. You know, Luke's getting gas. He's at the car, it pulls up to the gas station, and he drove around it a couple times, hopefully. Didn't see anything suspicious, so he pulls up to the gas pump, and now he's chosen that gas pump and he gets out. Well, in that moment, things can change. So how he deals with that and what tools he has at his disposal, like a flashlight, but more his brain, his voice, and decision making under real time is what we want to give him some training, so that, again, when it happens in real life, it's not the first time it's ever happened.
Right. And that's the big thing is, we have a saying that we use in our training that your body's never going to go where your mind has not gone before. And if you're not thinking through these situations, and a lot of times the way we learn how to plan these things out is by going and putting our body into motion. These two things are connected. You know, you have your body and your mind, and they're always connected. And if you are not taking those things through what you need to take them through to get this even mental training, you're going to be completely lost. You're going to do something completely that you wouldn't even think that you could normally do. We've seen this in multiple, like, you go to police activity on YouTube and watch a few of these real life things happen, and you'll see police officers fall to the level of their training. Like, they don't actually rise to the occasion. It's the very bare minimum of what they have learned. If you see somebody that is mishandling a firearm or not treating, reloads like they're a real world thing, what's going to happen is the instant they get into a shooting, they're going to do exactly what they trained on the range. And you've got to apply this stuff. Going back to what I said earlier, you cannot learn this stuff from a screen. So we know in this day and age, in 2025, of course, the media wanted to tell us that crime rates were way down. We know better. And it seems like there's more and more danger out there in the world, with crime rates actually climbing. You're being lied to. Go to a big city, there's crime rampant everywhere in the country, and our societal trust is eroding. I remember when I was a kid, I would ride my bike around town with zero fear of being, approached or abducted in the late 80s, early 90s, and that's not the world we live in now. We unfortunately have been immersed into a society where trust is not there, and for good reason. So what's one real world scenario families should train for right now and most overlook in their day-to-day lives?
Well, let's start with, everybody's different, right? Everyone reacts differently. So you can put 100 people in the same scenario and they'll act 100 different ways with 100 different variations. And so that's something that to really focus on. Is it's not about, people always ask, hey, how do I clear this room, or how do I clear this house? We want to teach you how to think, not what to think, if that makes sense. We want to teach you how to problem solve real time. And people do that on the range all the time, a two-dimensional range, but it's not until you have to really think under stress and react organically, you don't see it coming. That is the biggest, that I saw you and Mike, pull Luke off to the side last night and just say, hey, listen, that when you're in the middle of everything and you don't know what's going on, that's when you learn the most about yourself. So that's the cool part, that, it's not so much that people overlook, but they overlook what's more likely to happen, which is nothing, and learn to find those predefined indicators and then react faster under stress. Because if you're sitting there and all you do is go to you go to do jits and you sit there and you roll, or you go into the range and you're two-dimensionally and you're shooting at targets, that doesn't help you, that problem solving where there's nothing and then there is something, and how do you get to it? And it gives a false sense of security that someone keeps like in Chicago, like what we set up that scenario. If someone keeps a firearm in their car unloaded, and then the mag is somewhere else in the car, and that's what they have to do, and it gives them a false sense of security that they have a firearm on them, but it's not loaded. So it's the same thing of, hey, I'm going to drive around, I got a seatbelt, I'm not going to wear it, just put it on when the car crash happens. So the thing that most people overlook is training for what's more likely to happen, which is nothing. Get good at that first, and seeing that coming, and then when it's real, learning how to think under stress when it's real. And that's hard to replicate. That's what we do. That's what we hard focus on at WOFT.
Yeah. And I thought one of the things that you said, and this is one of the keys, is getting a family in there together, especially for the parents. It really opens your eyes to the world. And, you know, and we didn't really even have a scenario like that, but I'm thinking through it with my own personal family. I've got 3 kids, you know, my 12-year-old, I started taking him to the range when he was 6, you know, and my 9-year-old shotguns a couple of times. I have a 4-year-old that you guys all know. We just adopted Piper. And it's you know, I have 3 kids, one of which is really not going to be probably a lot of help in these kind of situations. So you have to think about that stuff. And you don't always think about that stuff going around in your day-to-day life. You know, hey, I'm just going to run into the gas station. You kids stay in the car. Well, that's really opening up a blind spot and a weakness, because those kids aren't going to really know how to react until you have at least told them, but taking them through those scenarios as a family. And it does really open up your mind of all of the things that we just take for granted on a daily basis, because we live in small town America where I live, and so you don't think those things happen, but yet the gas station that's literally 2 minutes down the road, last year there was a stabbing, you know, in rural America. So this stuff happens everywhere. So
absolutely.
Yeah, Chris, I haven't given you a chance to speak, and I'll give you a chance if you have anything you want to add or any questions you want to ask to kind of fill this conversation out.
Yeah, I'll just add something quickly. So I was a couple inches taller when I was in high school before I broke my back and neck and so on and so forth. But even then I was only 5'9", and I played multiple positions. I was the captain of the football team, and one of the positions I played was rush end. So not a defensive end, because I was too short to drop into pass coverage. And I would always play the short side of the field. Anyway, what Philip describes as like pre-fight indicators, I would call before the snap indicators. And so when you've seen a play 1,000 times before, you don't have to stop and think. So our football coach, Pat Carty, you know, rest his soul, he used to say, I don't care how big and strong you are. If you're not fast enough to get to the play, you're not in the play. End of story. And so other teams would get pissed off because I would see what they were doing. I'd holler out audibles to the defense. I also played O-line, fullback, etc. But anyway, when you've seen something hundreds or thousands of times, it becomes an autonomic reaction. So, for example, like if you took a swing at a professional fighter, he's not going to be surprised. He's not going to back up on his heels. He's going to come in close to you, like Dave was describing yesterday, that distance management. If I'm this close to you, you can't, you know, wind up and haul off and crack me, but I can probably take you to the ground or choke you out, sort of thing, right? So that's just the point I would make, is the pre-snap indicators. And if you've seen it before, you don't even actually have to stop and think. You just react. Action, reaction. Philip has a great course on that, by the way, or workshop, I should say, where he brings in all kinds of animals and, you know, tigers bending their head over at the watering hole. Every tiger in the world has the pattern of eyeballs on the back of its ears. So when the crocodiles look at it, they think they're still looking back. And so that, you know, kind of negates the getting the jump on them, sort of thing, right? But that's all I would add so far.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff, because that's, like you said, and you know, the way they train bank tellers to be able to see counterfeit or to be able to detect things that are wrong is by handling the real thing, by doing that stuff over and over again. They don't give them fake stuff; they give them the real stuff, and that's you know, another example of how doing this for real will make you see those things developing ahead of time. And observing is another big thing that you get to do. If you're here in a group, they run scenarios for a small portion of the group. You get to observe the other people. Observation and being involved in the scenario are two completely different things, because you can see the things develop. You can be like, oh goodness, this is getting bad. Like when you and Kat were closing in on Luke yesterday. We'll show that video in a little bit, but you're closing in on both sides, and he's feeling this kind of walls closing in, and we can see it from a mile away. It's like, oh, he's letting you guys get way too close. He's not thinking of how to get away from the scenario. He's thinking, oh, his thought was, I need to get back in my car. Unfortunately, he has to turn his back on one of you guys to do that, which opens up the door and the window for you guys to get to that. So yeah, it's crazy when you actually are going through these things. So, and this is kind of a personal question. It really definitely applies to me. You know, I'm a firearms instructor. I'm military. I take training seriously. I've spent thousands and thousands of my own personal money to do training with high level people over the last 2 decades, and especially the last decade. And so I take that seriously. Not everybody takes that seriously. My own wife included. She kind of is like, oh, my husband trains and does all this stuff. That's why I said multiple times yesterday, I would love to get her down there, to get her to really open her eyes on like, oh no, this could get really, really bad, really, really fast. So how do you adapt your training for kids and less experienced family members to ensure that they're empowered and not overwhelmed? Obviously, you don't want to take somebody that has no close quarters experience, throw them on the mat with a 3rd degree black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu and say, okay, try and survive this. There's no way. But there are techniques and things that we can use ahead of time to de-escalate those things. But how do we do that? By, I guess the term would be spoon feeding, so that they are empowered and they don't feel like, oh, there's no way I could survive this kind of stuff.
Sure. Well, great question. First, we start with what's more likely to happen, which is nothing. And we start to show them, and I would say walk before you run, crawl before you, and we start very, very simple, what's more likely to happen. And with kids, it's so much fun it's like a memory test. So their scenarios start off with stuff that are very easy. So you remember like the Sunday morning comics, Chris, dating myself now, where it's like, what 2 things are different? So when we do scenarios for kids, we first start off, we give them a flashlight, we give them a tool, and a lot of things we still would stick with the same fundamental safety principles that we want them to apply, and we watch how they do it. But then for them, we do the Mr. Miyagi Karate Kid, where paint the fence, sand the floor, where when they come in and out of the scenarios, we change things in the room, and we start to test their memory and how they pick up things that are different. And there, yes, and Chris is holding a flashlight, which leads me into what can a little flashlight do? And so with kids, that's something they can keep with themselves all the time. So we introduce some tools that they can keep with them, and it is very empowering. So we start off with the fact that what a little flashlight can do with the proper instruction, it can do more than anyone could ever imagine. And we start to show them the OODA Loop side, and we start to educate them a little bit. And we start to get them on the page. So for example, hey, when you're at the gas station with mom and dad, we're going to play a game. Who's looking at mom? Right? And you start to get them involved and just give them little tasks to do. So what you find is that when they come in and out of scenarios, and we keep it very simple, that all of a sudden they're like, hey, that garbage can move from here to there. And we get them start tracking on certain things and looking for things that are unusual. And when you see something unusual, you give it a little more attention. And again, giving them a flashlight, we share with them there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that flashlight, but a flashlight can go everywhere. It's small, it's inconspicuous, it's multi-purpose. And so we really drive down to learn how to leverage it to its maximum potential, that with the proper training, it can potentially, deflect and potentially save someone's life, by learning how to interrupt what a predator is thinking by doing something he's not expecting. So that gets into the woods and the weeds a little bit, but really it's just meant to, we teach young ones, because, I was raised to be seen and not heard, right? Old school. Mm-hmm. And we want them to be polite, but when it comes to scenario safety, we want them to find their voice. And what we find is that flashlight now that they can carry with them everywhere can magnify and project their voice to make a statement to a potential predator that they should stay away, because they have one tool. And if they have one tool, they might have another tool. So that's the genesis of what we do. Is again, you know, my daughter's 16, she'll be 17 soon. And we started her off when she was 8. And even though she lives, eats, and breathes this, you know, I didn't want to force it on her. And it's something that, you know, you start with a flashlight, but then once they start to learn and respect it, we teach them how to make someone let them go, potentially a blade, depending on what state you live in, and just teaching them with a training blade at first, right? And just start to walk them into the wax on, wax off, and start to say, hey, listen, if you can't avoid it by proximity, and now you can't avoid it by your voice and learning how to leverage that flashlight, now as someone goes to grab you, you're never going to make her as strong, you know, as me, but you can give her tools to make someone let her go. So that's the cool stuff, that the more, you know, we start with we can do a half a day class, 1 day class. Our standard classes are 2 days. So we can show you 4 concepts and then let them apply it. And then again, learn collectively as a family. Or if you have mom and dad and they're on date night, and we can divide and conquer. That's what the 9 stations are for, you know, so the kids can go and be with other kids and just have fun. So it's all about fun at first, and memory and all kinds of things, and just kind of teaching them some basic fundamentals that ultimately will result in a higher skill set for something else they don't even realize yet. And so that's something that high stress situations, inoculation to stress, and not to be overwhelmed, we make it fun. And we want to empower and inspire them.
Yeah. And that's really good. So yeah. And personally myself, I have, as I've mentioned before, a 12-year-old son, and he started shooting when he was 6 or 7. And he's basically, now I trust him more than some of our police students in some of our basic SWAT classes. I trust him more with firearms, just because I've instilled in him all of this stuff. But one of the things that I've done, and each parent, you kind of have to feel out if your kids are prepared for the conversations. But we'll sit in a restaurant and I will go through, okay, what if somebody comes in this door? What's your first move? What's your first priority? How are we going to get out? And I always teach him, my priority is to make sure the family's safe. Your priority is to get to a safe place as fast as possible, because I'm going to try and meet that threat. You, and part of the responsibility I also give him is, you get your 4-year-old sister and you get her out of the harm's way if you can, and make sure that, you're taking, if whatever situation. So we talk through those situations and make sure that he is paying attention to being situationally aware. I mean, the reality is these things are the giant distraction that everybody's using these days. And criminals are able to take advantage of that because they know that we are so distracted when we're out in public. And in my opinion, we should not be doom scrolling when we're out in public, when we're in our most vulnerable state. And that's one of the things that I think everybody could learn. But going back to family stuff is, as parents start to introduce this stuff to your kids are way smarter than you give credit for. Trust me, every kid is that way. They'll blow your mind with how smart they are. And so you can have those conversations. Be discretionary, understand where your child is in their maturity and development. But once I get to a level where you think you could have that conversation, start to introduce that to them. Put their mind to working at that stuff. That's easy situational mental training, even before you go to a place like WOFT. And if you're having those conversations, then it's much easier for them to see and understand, oh, this is what dad or mom's talking about when they're saying, look around, look at the people around you. Not that we're looking for a bad guy behind every jacket, but the reality is they do a really good job of blending in to the public. So what is the most common mistake that you see new students make in situational awareness, and how WOFT training can fix that before it becomes a massive liability and can get somebody hurt or even loss of life?
So I would say that they start too hard too fast. They're watching some tactical video online and high speed, low drag, and hey, I watch how fast my instructor can draw the gun from a holster. And then they don't realize that that's a pro that shoots competitively, and he puts the gun in the holster too fast. And most bad things happen, in and around a holster, right? So it's one of those things where the proper mindset, the liability is the mindset. And why are we doing this, right? So on a scale of 1 to 10, and I talk about this in our presentations, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you're at a gas station and a stranger is across the parking lot, but they're looking at you and they start walking towards you. 10 is you have an immediate imminent threat and yourself or your loved one, and you have to use lethal force to defend yourself. So 1 to 10, there's a lot of play in there. And so what we talk about is 1 to 4. 4 is when distance breaks down and now I'm close enough to you, I can go hands-on. 3.5 to 4, right? The Tony Blauer spear, startle flinch, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And then the fight's on, right? So are you just striking to get distance, or are you trying to get away? So now if you can just strike and get distance, that's a win, and you turn around and run away. But if they grab you, if you trip or you fall, you're trying to back up. We talked about this yesterday, right? Now you've got the 3.5 to, let's say, 7, where there's a fight's on, and we can't get away. And so now that is where jujitsu, striking, MMA, take your pick, your physicality and how you train comes into that play. But still, it's not lethal at that point, right? So again, that's the part where a lot of people start off already at a 4, or they start off already at a 10 because the gun's coming out of the holster and out of range. So I would say the fixes that we first do is we teach people how to draw and how to load and unload their gun properly, and how to properly put their gun away, because guns don't go off by themselves, right? And it's like how, appendix, there's a lot of liability that comes with that. So we fix a lot of that stuff with scenario training, because now we can push them harder, faster, and non-lethal concept, because we're using a military grade paintball gun that cycles and action like a real gun, but it's not lethal. So we can have them show us stuff, and we can allow them a little grace, if you will, with scenario training. So that is the biggest benefit that we can give people, is the fact that we use military grade paintball, and we have real guns that have the guts taken out of them so they can't fire live rounds. And we can really do a true force on force, or have the best range experience you've ever had, because we don't have that worry about the lethal side of things. So we can teach them the proper muscle memory, and it's something that we fix a lot of training when people come to us with that, because it's like they put the gun away too fast, or they muzzle themselves when they put the gun away, or they can't or lean back when they're going to put their gun away from appendix. And it's like, it just takes that extra second, and anything can get caught in that trigger guard as it's going in. And certain guns have trigger safeties and certain guns don't. So those are things where it's so that's situational awareness and safety training. It's fantastic with UTM.
And certain guns do go off on their own, like the P320 scandal that just never seems to end. And ongoing for how many years now?
Yeah. So everything you said is absolutely right. It's a very, very important thing that we understand, and we become confident in the simple, because most of these things, like you said, the most likely outcome is nothing. That's a simple situation. But most criminals, most people that are going to get you at a gas station or coming out of a Walmart or something along those lines, they're opportunistic assailants. They are not making some grand CIA plan that they can, that has 15 different contingencies and, a couple of different, alternative situations. It's not a well thought out thing most of the time, but they are also professionals at doing this stuff. Criminals are professionals at their skills. They perfect them over time in a life of crime. And so they understand where to spot weaknesses in what you're doing. And a lot of this stuff is something as simple as making eye contact with somebody when you pass them it's an alert to people to say, I see you. And that can be a very, very powerful thing. I see you. I'm not looking at my phone. I looked you in the eyes. And that's like ancient, or just like original animal instincts, like Chris was saying with the eyes with the tiger, and how it looks like they're still looking at the alligator. that's what we're doing. We're looking at a predator and we're saying, I see you.
Chris, do you think John and his family are going to enjoy our low light presentation?
Yeah, hopefully they can make it for it. It's so unique. There's nothing else out there even close to it.
Yeah,
I deep dive into what you're saying, John. I love hearing what you're saying right now.
Yeah, it's all of this. Well, this is basic stuff. Being best friends with a SWAT officer, Mr. Dave Kemp, and going through these trainings and watching, this is one thing that you can learn if you can actually learn how to do proper analysis of videos, like get on police activity and watch that. And then don't just watch it for like, oh my gosh, that was so stupid. Watch it for where was the breakdown? Where was the point in which this all went south? The video that we're going to show you later on of Luke in just a few minutes, there's a clear point. And this is not a knock on him. He was thrown into a situation that he had never actually been involved in. And that's really the best learning position to be in. You look at that and then you realize, oh, that's where I broke down. That's where I stopped fighting, because that's going to be the point where most people are going to fail and most things are going to get worse. So that's why we have to train this stuff.
So Luke is a great young man, no question. Okay?
Absolutely.
And I'm not trying to knock him or anything here, but he had the advantage of watching Mike Sterling go, who probably did as good or better than anybody else ever has with Philip at his facility. Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen the exact opposite, where the 17-year-old daughter gets thrown out there first in a room full of 40 people and absolutely kills it.
Yeah.
So if I was going to fault Luke for anything, is he should have paid maybe a little bit more attention to mimicking what Mike was doing versus what you're going to see.
Yeah. Well, and I also want to add to that is that, for all the internet warriors out there, right? It's like the keyboard guys, is that videos and scenario training is very dynamic and it can be taken out of context. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of those things where the similar to what we did with Mike, we ran Mike, I think 4 runs, maybe 5, and each run was custom. So the very first run, we're scanning you and we're seeing what you're going to do naturally. And then the second run is based on what we want you to learn. And the training kind of takes an animal of its own. So the second, third, fourth run, we're working on what you did in the previous run and what we want you to focus on the next run. So it could be this big, complicated scenario, and then all of a sudden it was all about just making sure that you check for +1. Or it could be this big, complicated scenario, and this is distracting and that's distracting, but where are your hands when a person approaches you, right? So the scenario is not about, hey, this is the perfect run, this is the perfect scenario. It's not about them to say, well, geez, why do you do that? I wouldn't have done this. How about this? And you're going, dude, unless you're there, right? So, and that's the biggest thing we have. I invite everyone watching this. I invite everyone, if you think you can do better, right? Put your money on the table. Like come to us, bring your family with you, right? Because that's the other thing where with Mike's family, it's like, I wish his family would have been there to watch him. And that's the biggest gift we can give them is experience. And the retention through force science, Chris, talks about 600 to 800% more retention when you watch someone that you care about. Yep. So a lot of times you go to these classes and you're there and you come back and then 2 weeks later, you forgot everything because it's like, oh, fine motor, gross motor, complex skills. And you're going, wait a second, that's you're going to forget it. So that's where our training is really different than everybody else, is that we first start off with what you're going to do naturally. We don't tell you what to do. We see how you do it, and then we make adjustments from there. So you're going to remember and you're going to just simply improve.
Absolutely. It's a journey. This is all a journey, and we want to. The whole reason that we go through trainings like WOFT or any other firearms training, hand-to-hand combat training, is so that you build a toolbox of skills where you can. I mentioned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The greatest fighters are the ones that can be fluid in whatever situation you put them in. They can roll with whatever is thrown at them because they have trained so much, they can counter. And that's what a lot of this is. How are you going to counter? The simplicity of how you can use a flashlight or a raised tone in your voice, you know, increasing the volume, or the alarm. All of us have key fobs on our cars now. Hit that alarm button. Draw attention to the thing if you feel that things are escalating. Those are simple things, but it's all a part of this. Like, what are you trying to do? And don't be afraid of, you know, obviously there are different situations. If your kids are in the car, you're not going to escape back into the gas station. But if you're by yourself, what's the easiest way? Hey, I'm just going to go back in here where the lights are on and they have security cameras and there's people working. And if things start going down, you know, I can go get in the bathroom and call 911, you know, and that's the simple act of retreating. That doesn't mean that you're a wimp. It means that you're smart most of the time, that you're taking this stuff seriously and you're not going to be blindsided by something. So, yeah. So we are running up against time. So I am going to go ahead and play this. I'm going to have to present this in a different way. Give me just a second here.
So while you're pulling that up, again, it's one of those things where we wind everyone down. We have safety bracelets. We do things where the area is sterile, and we have, I'm a CRSO, Chief Safety Range Officer, and we have a certain protocol that Ken Murray, one of my mentors, Training at the Speed of Life, he wrote that book. And it's just how best practices, and we're still trying to focus on excellence with regards to that. And so this was just a learning moment. And anything that you guys see, the reason why he's not wearing gear is because in this scenario, we don't have any force on force, but we do have shock knives and the best tools available so that we can immerse you and play pretend as real as possible.
Yep. Let me make sure we got good volume here.
He's at the gas station getting out to get gas.
Yeah, so let's quickly, so people know, and I'm the dude with the camera here, with the beekeeper's helmet on here. Let's talk through kind of, because we set up this scenario ahead of time, and one of the scenarios, I'll talk to this and I'll let you take the rest of it. In Illinois, Luke is he is not of age to actually have a concealed carry permit. You have to be 21 years old. He just graduated high school. And Luke is a really smart kid. And Luke, if you're watching, I actually saw him comment earlier. This is not at all a dig. In fact, as an instructor, we learn so much more from failure. And you can ask anybody in life. You learn so much more from your failures than you do you're acing something. Tension and and stress will actually teach you if you're willing to learn. But he is in Illinois. If you're under 21, you can have a gun. But the rule is, until you get your concealed carry permit, you have to have the gun unloaded in a compartment or a safe of some sort. A center console is acceptable. There are multiple court cases on that. Illinois loves to sue people over, you know, trying to protect themselves. And but you can have an unloaded gun and the ammunition in a magazine, but the magazine cannot be in the gun and there cannot be a round in the chamber. So you can imagine the difficulties that this actually shows. It's, in my opinion, horrible for young people that may be out on their own, maybe college students, you know, young women, obviously is the first thing that comes to my mind. Is, you know, firearms are a great equalizer for them. But so this is the scenario in the state of Illinois, and that's really what we were setting up, because Luke had actually requested that we talk about this, that we look at this. So, and you go ahead and talk through the scenario real quick, and we'll watch this video. It's about a minute long.
Yeah, I'll tell you, he has a nervous reaction, which is completely natural. So you hear him kind of laugh because it's training, but it's real, and he doesn't know when to stop and when not. And so we say, protect yourself at all times. And so you're going to see him really think and process real time, which he's never going to forget it. And his attitude was fantastic afterwards. He soaked it all in, and we love to see this. And as a dad, I've got a 19-year-old son, and that's what I want for him, is to experience things like this so he can learn how to avoid it and see it coming. And, you know, as you know, when predators select, there's typically a 5-point process where you're selected, but then you have to close distance. And then there's moments where if you react a certain way, you can interrupt that potential assault. And so that's what this is, where afterwards, reverse engineering it. There are a couple times where if there are two people there, pick the smallest one, go through them and leave. And it's very dangerous to think that you're safe because you have something that's just a couple feet away, but you don't have access to that. You have to focus on the here and the now. And that's what scenario training really helps you vet what you currently think will work for you. And then you get to actually replay it real time where you can't game it. It's either real, it either works or it doesn't. So I'm so proud of him for going through this. I'm so proud of him, and his parents should be, it's just ecstatic that this is the best kind of experience. And scenario training done properly, it changes the way you think.
Yeah.
He'll remember yesterday for the rest of his life. No ifs, ands, or buts. And
just FYI, this Howie TV, that's Luke. So if you see him in the comments, that's Luke. So yeah, I think he's maybe playing hooky from work right now. So, but you're supposed to be putting the shoes away at Dick's Sporting Goods.
So scenario here is I'm on the other side of the gas pump, and we didn't bring another vehicle in because the day kind of ran late. And again, this is a Mr. Destiny glimpse. This is just 2 instructors in this scenario. We normally run anti-carjacking with at least 4, and that's the difference: a student instructor ratio, and then all the proper gear. So there's a lot of things that happen to this, and he is getting out to get gas, and now in a transitional space, he's somewhat distracted, and now he's going to get approached, and there are 2 people working together. And so the thing is that can he use his voice, and we're reading his energy? Where does he see that potentially something is closing in, getting louder, and then we might not approach him if we think we might get hurt because he's a hard target. So guys, this is the best way to vet safety concepts and apply them real time organically.
Yep, exactly. So we'll watch this all the way through, and then I want to go back, and there's a couple of key points I want to pause on, and let's talk through some mistakes that were made. And I think there's one that I will point out for sure when it comes to a gun in your car.
How's it going? How's it going?
I don't mean to be rude or come off strong, but I did see you in the gas station, and I'm not, but I really like your hair. And
I'm sorry.
Have the
Taken. Back it up.
I'm just trying to be friendly with you.
As much fun as that sounds, back up. You too.
What do you mean it sounds fun?
Back up.
I think I was.
Back up.
Honestly, I was trying to flirt with you, but you're being
back up.
Ow! That hurt.
Oh, I'm dead right there. I'm dead. I'm dead. Give me your money. Give me your money. I'm cooked.
Is everyone okay over here? No, come here. Come on.
No! I just got slammed, bro. Are you okay?
What a great sport, and he did a really good job. He honestly, there's a couple points I want to, but real quick, overall, Philip, what's your kind of debrief on this?
Real quick is you want to keep distance. He had a couple moments to break, and then it's like once he struck me, I let him go because I dragged him around the car, and then he goes at catch. He's holding a knife. He goes towards her. I mean, I love the fight in him, but he needs to learn in that moment, fight or flight, man. It's like someone's holding a knife. There are 2 people there. He needs to leave. He needs to go. And then that nervous reaction, it's one of those things where things are closing in on him, and he got hyper focused on Kat, which allowed me to come and close the distance and basically stop and go away. He needs to get much louder and much more aggressive with that light, not move towards her, keep distance. And then going to get into the car, now he lost his ability to move. He was basically in that, the door's open, he's in his car, and now he's getting stabbed. And he thought to go, believed to go, the gun's just literally like less than a foot away. Mm-hmm. But he needs to focus on us in the moment, right? So I drag him around the car. He kicks me. I let him go. I go to grab him. He hits me. I back up as a good bad guy because that really would have hurt with that flashlight. I am wearing gear, but I'm acting as a good bad person. And then when he stayed to sit there and start to fight us, that's where I just like, okay, He went to Cat. I went around him, and then I didn't throw him to the ground. I just grabbed him and brought him down. And again, for him, it's such an awesome learning moment, because now he knows, hey, how am I going to react, and what do I need to work on? And this is where you want to play pretend as real as possible. And this is where families with kids, how are they going to react when a stranger approaches them at a gas station? Everyone needs to know how their kids are going to react, and you don't know until you get put in a situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I wanted to pull up a couple of specific points. This is the point where he kind of starts to go hands-on and give Cat a shove. And this video actually doesn't even really give you an idea of the difference in size that we're talking about, because Luke is about as tall as me.
6'3".
Yeah, he's 6'3", and probably close to 200, a little over 200 pounds. I'm like 250. So I've got a little bit more weight behind me, but he's not small. And so in this kind of a situation, what you were talking about earlier is understanding the size. You're obviously closer to his size. You're stronger physically, physiologically. You want to go after the least bit of resistance to get you to make your escape. I think you're right. He's thinking, I've got a gun in the car. I've got to get to that gun. Whereas he could have, in all honesty, just forced his way through Cat and made the escape. That was his first chance really to get through this, is saying, oh, I don't want to. And I understand a young man that's been raised, probably taught you don't hit girls, as most of us were when we were kids. But we're talking about a potential life-threatening situation. You're going to do whatever it takes, and you're going to get away and make your escape. So this was, I think, his first kind of analysis paralysis. He was at a point where he was trying to analyze too much and not thinking through what's the easy way to make this a non-event.
Well, and Cat's 5'7", and she doesn't mind if I pick on her, and I don't know her weight, but I'm going to guess it's 145, 155. She's very athletic. So I'm 6'2", and I'm 6'3", and I'm 220. So would you rather come at me, or would you rather go at Cat?
Exactly. It's just simple biology, so, and it doesn't really matter if it's a female or a male. If you got a 140-pound male versus a 220-pound male, guess what? You're going to take out the 140-pound male.
You should.
So that's a simple quick analysis you can make is look at your threats and decide which way because there was a lot of space. I know, like, you can see my back here, but there's a lot of space in this area where he could have just kind of bumped her into the vehicle and taken off,
Yes. Go back to the convenience store. Go back where there's safety. There's other people. There's other things.
Yep. Tell them, call the cops. I'm going to be in the bathroom.
Choose safety.
Yep. So then here's the next one. And I'm going to play this little short period. This is where he goes to make an attempt to get in the car. The scenario before, he really did a good job because you were rushing him.
He did.
Able to jump in the van and lock the door as you were.
Cat-like reflexes, Luke. Cat-like reflexes.
Yeah, amazing reflexes. He jumped in, hit that lock button. I mean, you were pulling on the handle. Like, the timing of it was insane. So, but this is the point where he makes a move to go into the car, and this is one of the key points. And I actually told him this yesterday.
Oh, I'm dead right there. I'm dead.
So, and here, there's two things here. His foot jams in the door, and he, because of like the mindset of like, oh, this is a scenario. Oh, I'm dead. No, you're not dead. You're not dead at all. And here, you haven't really reached. He could still plow through Cat here.
Yes.
And run straight out of that doorway.
Yes.
So there's a couple of things. And then once you get there, then he is just physically overwhelmed at that point. There's too much there. So talk to that real quick.
Yeah. When you turn your back, or when you get hard focused, you get tunnel vision, and you lose your ability to see something coming and prepare for it. So he is focused on her, and his brain right now, his OODA loop is completely frazzled. He's not sure if he's up or down or what time it is, what day it is. He couldn't answer you, and his adrenaline is spiked, and he's in a place that he's never been before. So, he is he is he is unaware of what he should be aware of, and this is going to give him some experience. And by videoing this and watching it, this is the next level, where a lot of other places that you guys know, if you've done any scenario training, very seldom is it taped. Very seldom are they going to spend that much time and pay a video guy to come back and video edit it. So that's another thing with us, is that everything is captured, because this is something you want to show your grandkids.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one thing that we do even in our tactical pistol and rifle class and our advanced concealed carry classes, is we will pull out our phones, or we'll get cameras out, and we'll actually videotape people, give them real-time feedback. Hey, you see where this is affecting you? It's not utilized enough in training. This is real world feedback, and you can see that breakdown period, and it just really gives you a quick, oh wow, that's what I did wrong. I didn't see past what was right in front of me. So, and then there is another moment once you get around, and when he punches you around, so the dragging around the car, he is still just very, very wounded that you drug him around the car like he was a rag doll. It's drug around the car.
I'm good.
And then over here, I wanted to point out something else. So look behind him. Look behind him. You're off to his side. Cat's coming around the vehicle.
With a knife.
With a knife. What can he do? He can try and just take off running there. He's got a complete open back. There's his escape. So these are all things, and it's easy to Monday morning quarterback on these things. We do video so that we can actually look at this stuff and analyze it, learn from watching other people's failure points, but you're going to have your own failure points. So, and you mentioned something about the keyboard warriors. It frustrates me to no end when somebody's out there actually trying to train, actually trying to get better. And there's a video that goes out that everybody's like, oh my gosh, why are you doing that? You got to do it this way. You got to do it that way. It's like, well, it's easy for you to sit back in your house and message and comment on these videos that you have no idea. We put police officers, multi-year police officers in our basic squad. We put them through malfunction training on an AR-15. You want to see somebody's mind just absolutely melt away in front of you. Start doing some of that kind of stuff and putting them through that stress, telling them, hey, you got a guy shooting at you. You got a guy shooting at you. You got to reload, or you got to go to your secondary weapon. The absolute mind melting that happens. So be careful about the comments you leave for people that are going through this high stress. I mean, Luke told us that his heart rate hit 185, which is
when I dragged him around the corner, what I'm doing as a scenario instructor is being a good bad guy, but I'm really trying to get the most juice for the squeeze. I'm trying to putting him in as many situations as possible in this scenario to see, so he can reverse engineer it and work that. How do you get out of that? Someone's dragging you. How do you get out of that? And I stayed in character until he was able to get his balance, and then he kicked my hand, which hurt. So I let go. And when I let go, I went to grab him, and he actually struck me. It's where the camera is. He struck me, so I fell back because he hit me, with that flashlight. And it would have caused a lot of damage had I not had my helmet on. So when I backed up in that moment, that was a great moment, just to break a lull in the gunfight, if you will, for him to turn and run away. But again, fight or flight, no problem. It's very primal. The adrenaline's running. He just got dragged. He's kind of in shock, if you will. So up until this point, there's so many learning moments, and that is what a real organic scenario done properly is not about out to get you. It's purpose-based learning.
Absolutely.
I'd quickly tack on to your comments with regards to the people who make snotty comments, ridiculous comments. They share a number of characteristics, but one thing that they share is a very myopic view of the world, that it's either their way or the highway, and that there's only one true way to do whatever the thing is, right? And that nothing could be further from the truth. So that's basically my response to people like that is, if you tell me that there's only one way to accomplish something, I'm probably not going to put any credence into anything else you have to say after that.
Exactly.
You know, we're all different. We learn differently. We perform differently. The list goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've ran over on time. But I think that this is a great example of the kind of training you get at WOFT. And it's really, as I said earlier, it's second to none. I've been to a lot of really nice training facilities, military, police. This is tailored for the everyday American with a wife, a husband and wife, with a couple of kids, or a whole big family. This is such a beneficial thing. And I would encourage you guys, instead of going out there and buying 5 million guns and 60,000 rounds of ammunition, take some of that money and invest in real training, because what this is going to do is when you're going to the range and you're honing in your skills and you're doing all this other stuff, you're building, as I said, a toolbox. I always like to refer to it as a toolbox. You're putting another tool in that. And
hey, Tom, before you wrap it up, show the Lumberton video and get Phillips analysis on it.
Is this the construction guy?
Yep.
Okay. Give me just one second.
It's one thing to watch simulated training at WOFT. It's another thing to see why it's so important. And this guy lost his life. And I would hazard to guess that if he had any training, especially Phillips training, he probably wouldn't have lost his life.
So this is a famous video, infamous video, I will say, of a man who was trying to be a good Samaritan. And Chris, I'm going to let you talk through this, and I'll just kind of scroll through it, and then we'll watch it real quick.
Cliff Notes version. That white work truck is being stolen by somebody, carjacked by somebody. The guy is sitting in the front seat. The person who owns that truck, or at least his company owns that truck, is off screen to the left of the screen. The guy in the safety vest is the good guy who's come to the rescue to, get the truck. And you can play the whole video in a second, but look how close he is. He's 5 feet away from the driver. He took 5 shots, missed all 5 shots. The carjacker backs the truck up and guns it, comes forward, runs the guy over, kills him, DRT. Like, there's so many mistakes in this.
Yep.
It should be a video at the top.
Top there, yeah.
There you go.
So here we go.
Look how far he backed up to. Like, he backed up a good distance. That's the owner running off to the right. And the full video, which if we showed it on some of the platforms we broadcast to, they kick us off for glorifying violence. But he bounced off the front of that truck like he was DRT. 20, 30 yards in the air before he hits the ground. It's really nasty and an ugly situation. I'm going to I would like to share a couple of things as a firearms instructor that I see that I'm just like, wow. But I'll get Philip's reaction first. He might actually cover it.
So first and foremost, property, it's just property. Be a good witness, right? That's the first thing. Yes, you want to help people, but again, it's like, it's great to engage, but if this guy has a family, they need him more than that truck is probably insured. And, this guy is using lethal force to protect property. And that's a big no-no, right? Just a big no-no. And so you can also tell this guy has probably never had any training, because number one, 3 feet to 3 yards, point shooting, flash sight picture. My gosh, it is impossible that he missed. And then he's in shock after firing that. His ears are ringing. He's kind of in shock, and he's standing in the middle of the road. When the train's coming down the tracks, get off, right? Get off the track. So this is one of those things where what you see at the very end is a compilation of all the things done wrong, and it all compounds to that moment where there's a car on the right. He's in the road. He could have stepped off and put something in between them, and he didn't. So he used lethal force. He engaged with something, and it's like, you know, I tell my kids and my wife, it's like, if someone is getting attacked, you're my priority. I'm your priority. Do not engage. I need you to come home, right? If it's going to put you in harm's way, you know, and that's just the legality of the society we live in. Family comes first.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm going to play a little section of this again, because the firearms instructor of me is kind of going nuts about a couple of things. And I've seen this video before, but oh, did I lose it here? Hold up. So first thing, you see how he's shooting his gun. He is drawing he's presenting his gun, shooting, and then pulling it back out of the fight. Presenting his gun, shooting, and pulling it back out of the fight. As a firearms instructor, we teach don't pull your gun out of the fight until your shots have had the desired effect. I mean, yes, he's using deadly force. Please, if you're going to use deadly force, use it correctly. But the whole, you know, presenting and pulling back to see if you hit, that's like rookie mistakes there. Like you don't do that kind of stuff if you've had any kind of training. And as Chris said, he's obviously not had any kind of really formal training to understand, you know, point shooting at that distance, but then, you know, you can work your way to your sights and actually use your sights as well. So that's fatal mistakes. And this is obviously a case where somebody had not put their minds through that. And first and foremost, what Philip said at the beginning, it's property. Even if it's your own personal vehicle, walk away, guys. Your life is not worth a $30,000 truck. It's not. You're way more valuable to your family than that. And you just have to understand how to assess what weighing values is. Now, if you're being carjacked and your 4-year-old is in the car seat in the back, and that's the moment where I'm going to die. Like, I'm going to die. You're not taking my car with my 4-year-old in it. I'm going to die, and I'm going to leave a mark on you too. That's where I'm fighting with everything that's within me. And that's the scenario based stuff. That's a completely different, you're not going to be trying to escape if your kid's in the car. You're going to be looking for, let's get into our fortress. Let's get into this van and we'll figure it out. We'll drive through these people if we have to. So anyways, I digress, but yeah, that's a great example of something that, you know, unfortunate. It didn't have to go down that way at all. And it's for one, it's poor training and poor threat and value analysis. So
yeah, had he invested and just had one class, just one safety class, that could have helped him in that moment say, you know, it's just property, right? Because and you don't know how you're going to react. I have a lot of people that are acquaintances that tell stories about, geez, I just reacted. Why'd you do that? I didn't think about it. I just reacted, because they've never been in a situation before. You don't know how you're going to react until you're put in that situation.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, we could talk about this stuff all night. This stuff is so important to me. It's near and dear to anybody that really wants to be that well-rounded citizen that is, you know, obviously we obey laws. We look to be good citizens. We look to even to be good Samaritans if we can, but we're not going to be stupid when we talk about that kind of stuff and when we approach that stuff. Obviously, as a Christian, I tend to err on the side of, you know, hey, I look to help people if I can. I am not going to ever help anybody at the expense of my own family or my own life. It just doesn't, that's not good analysis for me, you know, but that's not a saying.
Hard conversation. It's a hard conversation to have for people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, and Stuart actually brings this up. Your vehicle is a formidable weapon. If you're in it, drive through the threat. We talked about that yesterday. You know, don't be afraid to drive through the threat. If it's a life threatening, yep, you're in the wrong place. You're going to move, or I'm going to move you. So, but anyways, you guys go to WOFT, go to their website. We'll put that in the description of this video. It's been really awesome. It was a great experience down there. I'm looking to go back for sure, take my family, get that full immersion training. And I mean, you train hard, but you also get some really nice recovery. The recovery, cold plunge, pool.
Oh yeah.
Sauna, amazing food, on-site suite that can house, I think, like 8 people or 6 people.
Spare no expense.
Yeah,
Spare no expense.
It's incredible. They have even like, and we did an actual tour that'll be up on our page and Survival Dispatch page, where we go through all of the amenities they have. They have a designed coffee shop where they can do large group training, and it's designed like a Starbucks, and it's really, really cool. So you guys, this is the kind of training that I think everybody should be going through. And as I said before, save all of the, buying your 14th AR-15 and your 17th LPVO, and maybe start investing in some real world, because those are going to do you nothing if you don't know how to think through a situation.
It's worth it. With your valuable time, it's worth it. And I appreciate the opportunity, Chris, to share what I believe is important information, not only to our community here in Central Florida, but also the community at large in the United States. And that's a whole nother conversation, say, for next time, is our school teacher appropriation.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't actually mention this to you, but my wife is a school teacher, a high school teacher.
Oh, my gosh. Look at that.
Yeah, that's a real scenario and a real concern. I mean, we see wackos going into schools way more than it ever should have happened. But that's a real concern of mine. That my wife is right there, potentially on the front lines of some kind of wacko going into a school. So, and that's man. So, yeah, we've got a lot of even stuff to talk about offline coming up, but. Really, really awesome to have you on. Thank you for making the time. We have another discussion that we recorded yesterday on site. We had some internet issues. There were some power outages. The powers that be, or something, was trying to keep us from getting to your facility, whether it be airlines or down power lines, but we made it, and it was well worth it. But where's the best way for people to find you? I know you probably have social medias as well as the website. So what's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
The best way is WOFT.com, WOFT.com. I paid an immense amount of money to secure that 4-letter domain, and you can contact us directly to learn more on our website. And we're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and we're doing God's work. And if we can help one family member, right, and this is where it really hits home. This is why we do what we do, and I'm committed. My greatest honor is to help, people like John and his family. That's my greatest honor in life, and it's we're all family, and you become WOFT family when you get here, and nothing else is like it. No one else is doing it.
Absolutely, and couldn't recommend it high enough. I could go on for a long time talking about everything that we were able to experience in just a section of it. So, but let's, what we've heard today is that you train under stress, prioritize reality over theory, and don't get caught up on just watching YouTube videos and thinking that's good enough. There's a lot of information you can get from those. I watch YouTube videos for information all the time, but you have to go out and apply it. So build a capable tool bag from the ground up. You may have already added some things. Maybe you've even already been to some knife and close quarters self-defense. That doesn't mean you're done. It's a journey. Learn different scenarios. Go into something that's fully immersive. Don't just buy a gun and hope that you'll rise to the occasion. You're going to fall to the level of training. This is Sun Tzu's theory and the art of war, and it's absolutely true. We see it with police officers all the time, military members all the time. If they are not taking their training seriously, then bad things end up happening. And the consequences of that are things that none of us want to deal with as parents and family leaders in our homes. It's so paramount that we actually look at this stuff. So protecting your family, it's not just a hobby. It's not just something that we do when we feel like it. It is a commission from the Almighty God on top of everything else. It is that thing that we should be taking seriously, because I have been entrusted with my children. God blessed me with those children. So I have to take it seriously. I have to be the one that's willing to stand on the wall and block the bad so that they can make their escape if nothing else. So WOFT provides a structure that you guys can absolutely lean into, and it will benefit you greatly. You still have to show up and start with awareness, build your mindset, train for what's coming, not what you wish the world was. We all wish that the world was the safe, Andy Griffith show. It's not, guys. It is not the Andy Griffith show. It's not small town America. Even in small town America, people get stabbed and die all the time. And it's real. So thank you, guys. Don't forget, if you're not a Guardian member, go over today. We've got way more of this content coming your way. We're going to be doing a lot more product analysis. We did a whole series on suppressors that's coming out very soon with real-time analysis on what we're getting. I tell you what, I was blown away. Part of the day yesterday, we shot some suppressors. Shooting a 300 blackout with no hearing protection and it not hurting is insane. That's all stuff we have to think about talking about home defense.
Supersonic, 300 blackout. The subsonic was 800-900 feet per second at 200 grains. The supersonic, 96 grains, 2,400 feet per second, 800 foot-pounds of energy more than the subsonic, and no ears required.
Yep. 99 decibels to 103 decibels was what we were running on that.
Yeah, and they're very special cans, by the way. They're titanium Inconel cans from KGM Tech. Look up KGM Tech. Their cans are on. Anybody can suppress subsonic ammo.
Yep.
Suppressing supersonic ammo to the point where it's hearing safe for the shooter, that's a really big deal. You still get the crack of breaking the sound barrier, but it's distant and you're in the cone of silence behind the rifle. So they do a heck of a job.
Yep. So look for that content coming out real soon. But sign up for the Guardian membership, because it's the way you guys show that you appreciate our content. And it's a deal, guys. It's $7.99 a month. I mean, we pay more than that on a daily basis for a Starbucks. And then in my case, I paid for a Starbucks right when I was getting ready to go through security checkpoint today. I had to throw it away. Then I bought another one on the inside and dumped half of it in the plane. I had a really heck of a drive or a traveling experience trying to get down to WOFT last time, a couple of weeks ago, and this time. I think I'm, maybe it's just the enemy trying to stop me. It's
1,000 lashes for supporting.
Yes. Oh,
Starbucks.
Man. It was, well, I know it's anyways. It's the only coffee that's readily available that I can get a decent, and it's not straight black coffee, because that you need Righteous Savage's coffee.
There you go.
So, but anyways, you guys can still sign up for a free account. You get all of the things that I mentioned earlier: early content, 37 e-mags for survival, Sunday Threat Matrix, the SDN emergency notification system, the high traffic signal chat that's just chock full of good intel information, and even some fun stuff that everybody just likes to share. So at the very least, go over to Substack, sign up for a free account. And if you feel led to bless us with a insider, a Guardian membership, we greatly appreciate it. You guys are what keeps the wheels turning at Survival Dispatch. We cannot thank you enough. And we're fighting the war out there against big tech that wants to suppress all of this information because it wants us to be sheep. It doesn't want us to be prepared Americans. It doesn't want us to be able to stand and rise to the occasion when a threat presents itself. And you only do that through training. So come and support us if you feel so led. That's it for tonight. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. This extremely important information. Anybody that you think might be interested in WOFT, go sign up for some training. It's really important, and it is probably some of the best stuff that you and your family could do to be prepared for everything out there in the world that can come your way. Guys, we'll see you next time, and until then, we'll be back tomorrow with our regularly scheduled. We ran a little long today, but with our regularly scheduled 1 hour stream. Until then, keep the faith, guard the wall, and God bless America.